To our webinar today with Christina Fuentes of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. I'd like to welcome and say hello to Doug Burke, our chairman. Doug?
Good morning, Vicki. Thank you. Yep, I'm here. So quickly, good morning, everybody. First want to thank Vicki and Nina and John and everyone at the Chamber. I think, as you guys know, the Chamber's been working really, really hard. You know, you can see Vicki's at home, Nina's at home, everyone's at home, but we're trying to put on useful information. As I said, you know, on one of the calls last week, it's changing very rapidly. We're trying to get the information to you in real time. We're all in this together. I think what's gonna, sure there's, you know, we're unique down here in Cape May County. We have a lot of unique challenges that are different from other parts of the state even. So we're very mindful of that, and we're going to keep trying to bring you pertinent information. And I want to thank Christina for coming on today. And Nina, I'm going to turn it over to you to give everyone instructions on the call.
Thanks, Doug. Just some quick technical notes. We do have everybody on mute today just due to the number of people on the call. So if you have a question for our presenter as she's talking, please put that into the text chat. The way that you get to the chat is in your Zoom toolbar at the bottom of your screen on the computer, or if you're using a phone or tablet, just tap your screen to see the toolbar and then press chat. If you need anything else during the conference other than asking a question of our presenter, you're welcome to go ahead and raise your hand. You do that under the participants button in the toolbar, press participants, and then raise hand, and I will get in touch with you and see if I can help. So at this point, I'll go ahead and introduce our presenter. She is Christina Fuentes, the Director of Small Business Services for the NJEDA. Christina, you're unmuted whenever you're ready.
Okay, great, thank you. So now I have to share my screen, and there we go. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so thank you for the introduction. As you said, you know, Cape May County is, you know, with it being so far down in South Jersey, we still want to make sure that you understand the benefits that we're going to be releasing. Last Thursday, we had a special board meeting in which we got some special incentives approved in this emergency crisis to try and support small businesses as much as we can. Under that Thursday meeting, we were basically trying to put together some resources for small businesses that, you know, it helps kind of leverage the private and also federal dollars through SBA, but also some philanthropic capital as well. But we're leveraging our CDFIs too to help create some, basically we're trying for interest-free working capital loans, but I know with the CDFIs, they probably will keep their rates a little bit lower. Anything's better than the 3.75 that we have from SBA. So we're trying to aim to serve those, you know, high demands and instant needs that small business owners are experiencing right now. Under that Thursday meeting, like I said, these were the incentives that moved forward, and I'll highlight, you know, in detail what all of them actually are. So the first thing that we have up is the grant program. So this is essentially for any business that has a commercial location. It's an operating expense grant for up to $5,000. It's going to be eligible to anyone who falls within these specific NAICS codes. If you start with those two first digits, you qualify. And if you are a nonprofit, a 501c3, C4, or C7, with those NAICS codes as well, you would still qualify for this. It's $1,000 per employee, but again, the max would be $5,000. It's going to be a fairly simple application process, and I actually have some screenshots I added into this presentation as well too, so people can get familiar with it. But the application will be going live Friday at 9 a.m. through the portal, and I'll provide that website for the portal as well, so you can constantly go on that portal and get updates. I would say every day we've been uploading information and questions. We have a constant FAQ that goes up in regards to Department of Labor, Department of Health, business questions. So it's a really good resource. Also, it has a chat bot where people, if you want an instant answer, there's from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. You can reach out to somebody and talk to them immediately. So it's definitely a good resource that you should, constantly be looking at throughout this. Again, like I said, it's a fairly simple grant application targeted towards those businesses that really have been impacted under the executive order. So we have a lot of, the retail, the food and beverage industries, nail salons, hair salons. We also have the barber shops that would be in there as well too. And most importantly, look up your NAICS code. When you registered as a business to get your EIN number, how you registered will determine if you're eligible for this at this time or not. I do want to kind of say that EDA put up $5 million off their balance sheet to support this incentive. So it is a fairly small $5 million pool at this time, but we're hoping that somehow we can maybe expand that down the road. I can't make promises to that, but if we are able to do that, we could potentially look at additional NAICS codes at that time. But unfortunately, I think this is $5 million is going to be oversubscribed very soon. So feel free to, basically check out, as you can see right here too, there's a different link as well because it's based off your WR30. And we also have a portal which will determine a potential grant award for you. So whatever you filed on your last WR30 will determine what you're going to qualify for under this grant program. So this is just walking you through that actual grant application. As you can see, the cdbusiness.nj.gov is where you would get the link for this actual application. I do want to say when you are in the application too, you can't close out of it. It's basically should take you about 5 minutes to complete this. And as you're going through it, you want to make sure you submit it, and then that way you can be in the queue. So it's basic contact information. As you can see, you would have to know EIN number, and then this walks you through, your number of employees, industry. Again, I'll share this with the chamber too, so that way if anyone needs to reference it or go back towards it to look as a resource, feel free to do so. And this is just asking more detailed questions. A very specific point right now is the home-based businesses. They would not be eligible under this program. This is only for W-2 employees. So if you are a 1099 employee as well, you would not be eligible under this grant program. And then the background information is just additional questions related to the business. And then again, if this is type of legal department questions that we typically ask our applicants too. And that is it. So then you would receive that notification of your application number as well too. So after you have submitted this, and let's say, you have questions or you want to follow up with something, you can always feel free to reach out to EDA as well, and we'll follow up with those questions as far as status. We're looking to have these funds automatically deposit into accounts too, and we're hoping to have everything move very smoothly so that way people can get paid in an efficient manner, because we know it's such a desperate time for some of these small businesses. As I was saying, if you go in the portal, you can do your grant size estimator, and that will walk you through, if you are eligible and then for how much too. So I think if people have some time, they should walk through that to have a better understanding. And then we also have our new loan program too, which is a 0% working capital loan. You can qualify for up to 100,000, but again, be mindful that you should really determine what your needs are at this time. It is just for working capital, and you can't make more than $5 million in annual revenue to be eligible for this. You would have to be in existence for at least 12 months to qualify too, and it would be a 0% interest rate loan for those first 5 years, hopefully with the intention that people can pay off their loans before the actual 10. But if you can't, then it goes up to a 1 or a 3%. It's going to be based upon the floor at that time. But again, there will be no penalties if you do pay off that loan but prior to that 10 years. So it's up to the applicant to really determine what their needs are and how much they want to ask for. But also remember that, it's going to be a secured loan, so you would need some collateral. We're going to be more relaxed in our collateral, but it would be something you would have to demonstrate through tax returns or potential, there might be a question of, you know, do you have any kind of home equity? But a collateral would be a subject that you would have to be mindful of. We did reduce the credit score as well, so it's only a minimum of 600, which, you know, we're hoping can kind of help anyone who's in desperate need right now for some help. But also, this is not industry specific. So I know a question that kind of comes up from what I've been hearing is if I'm seasonal, you know, so essentially I've been closed for so many months and now I'm looking to open up for the summer and I wouldn't have filed a WR-30, so am I eligible for the grant? And it's something that may exclude you from the grant if you haven't filed a WR-30. It depends if you're pulling down a salary or not. So if you are, you could look to pursue, you know, if you have 1 to 2 employees, but then I think the loan program is something that's going to be targeted more towards the seasonal entities that are looking to kind of, okay, now I have to open later in the summer and I'm going to need a little help with some carrying costs. So I think this would be a good option, but it's also, you know, you have to demonstrate you've been negatively impacted because of this COVID crisis, which I don't think would be a heavy lift for a lot of businesses. We've also put in some dollars towards our CDFI first loss reserve fund. So what essentially this did is allowed the CDFIs to participate in this program and be able to get an allocation of up to $2 million to be able to put that on EDA's balance sheet to reserve against any potential defaults in the future. So this allows the CDFIs to create new loan products and programs. And as you can see to the right, these are the parameters that the CDFIs basically have to mimic in their programs. So as these programs get released and out to the public, we'll be pushing them, but we're also going to be putting them on our portal and our website so people can understand about the resources that our CDFI partners will be utilizing. So for South Jersey, unfortunately, there's not one, you know, the closest one would be in Camden. But CBAC does a good job in representing South Jersey, but I'll make sure that, you know, Cape May County can understand those products that are out there because they are going to be working capital, typically lower loans, maybe up to 15 or 20,000, but with low interest rates as well. But we wanted to be able to utilize our resource partners like the CDFIs to create additional products because we understand that, you know, our funds are kind of limited in that sense, but we can't have something for everybody. So we're looking to our resource partners to kind of fill in those gaps as well. We also made some tweaks to it's called an emergency assistance guarantee, but we always typically had a guarantee, but what we're going to do is go into a first loss position and we guarantee up to 50% of these loans as well. So for this product, it would be the actual applicant that's working with that CDFI, which CBAC will be a potential premier CDFI. So they could be your resource in regards to this, but then it would also be for any premier lender too. And we partner up with 26 banks all throughout the state that participate in this program. So to file an application, you would essentially be the applicant for this, but you just identify who your premier CDFI or premier bank would be, and we will cover, you know, secure that loan up to 50%. And what that does is it allows the banks and the CDFIs to go into those riskier loans and feel a little bit more comfortable, because if it does default, then EDA will cover it on the back end up to 50%. We also released our New Jersey Entrepreneur Support Program, which is targeted towards tech and life science companies. You know, this is, again, just to do a back-end guarantee for startup entrepreneurs, but we're going to secure those loans on the back end for up to 80%. We also entered into some service agreements in order to, with all these entities at the bottom, as you can see, and they provide services in regards to your SBA applications. So as you know, there's some disaster relief loan applications out there that people can qualify for, and these entities can actually help you with filing those applications. You also have your small business development centers and your women business centers as well too, who can offer assistance in regards to that. Through Stockton, you have Karawattis who should be helping you process those applications, or you can utilize any of these entities. And you do not have to be a member of these chambers to utilize their services. They should be offering this for free. Part of what we've looked at is obviously we've waived all fees for these emergency programs. We've also looked at potentially flexibility in everything that we're doing. So by doing that, we've lowered the collateral restrictions, but also with the minimum credit score. And we understand that even the applicants that we've dealt with have closed the loan and on our portfolio, we have to be flexible with them. So we're looking at potentially, how can we assist those businesses as well? So we have a lot of Sandy businesses that received loans as well due to the Sandy, but we have to basically work with them to see the situation that they're in and how can we deal with them and be customer friendly too. So based upon what type of business you are, this is how you would classify the assistance you could qualify for. Micro businesses are typically 10 employees or less, and a smaller ask compared to a small business or a mid-sized business. But these are potential programs that you could go through. And again, there's a wizard that you can walk through and ask you specific questions in regard to the size of your business, the revenue, and that's how it will determine what's the best fit for you. These are all, as I've mentioned numerous times, through the portal that's listed below, you can identify all these resources that can really help walk you through what you would be eligible for. And the wizard's identified there. You have a calculator, and then we also have a jobs portal that's really helpful for all our major employers that are looking to hire people during this crisis right now. So for some people who may be unemployed but are looking for employment, you can utilize the jobs portal. And that is it. I figured most of this is going to be a lot of Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Christina.
Yeah.
So we do have quite a few questions that our participants have added to the chat, and I am going to start off by sharing those questions from everyone. And I know they're going to continue to add questions. So the first question was, and you did address this a little bit, but we're going to expand on that. And it is it possible for a self-employed person to claim unemployment? So could you talk to that a little bit? I mean, it's not specific to this program, but can you just expand on that a little bit?
So the best way to get a really great answer, I mean, I can do my answer, which I think under the new rules, under the CARES Act, you are. So the federal government on that side has allowed the self-employers and the 1099s to be eligible to participate in all those programs under CARES Act, which is kind of rare, and that included unemployment, from my understanding. But again, you should probably talk to, through the portal. I think you should be able to get an answer, but if not, potentially a lawyer. I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't have a solid answer, but I just know from my own personal, experience that I have heard you're eligible for those benefits.
Right. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question is there an alternate method to the founding documents to identify the NAICS code for a specific business?
Is there, I'm sorry, what, a founding document?
Right. So I think the question goes to how you originally identified your business.
Oh yeah, so yeah, when you registered for your EIN is when you would have selected your NAICS code. So people have to basically, if they did that themselves, they have to pull out that certificate that when they applied for their EIN, or you can talk to your accountant if you utilize your accountant.
Okay. And then the next question is that, so the question is, does this apply to seasonal? Because the person asking the question says, I understand that it wants the fourth quarter information.
Yeah.
So seasonal perhaps didn't have any fourth quarter data.
Yeah, they're not going to
So
be
expand on
captured.
that a little bit.
Yeah, so unfortunately, because they're not captured, and it really depends on your business structure. Are you pulling down a salary yourself as that business owner? Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. So it would depend on those kind of questions. If you are pulling down a salary, and you know, would count as that employee, at least you'd be eligible for $1,000. Sometimes people keep themselves, or maybe a couple year-round people. So whoever is on those books as year-round employees off that WR30, you would still be eligible. But if you have no one that you are claiming, you would not be eligible under the grant, but you're still eligible under the loan program. So like I said, I mean, for the seasonal companies, as I was just like thinking in my head earlier, like, you know, you're going to have to leverage yourself, because potentially we're looking at this going into maybe June, early July, and you have a business that's operating. We could look at those previous year financials. We can clearly see when you're open and operating, you're making revenue and you're making the, you know, amount of money to support the loan request. Then we can look at those scenarios. I don't think that should exclude you from the loan program.
Okay, and so to expand on that, you know, I think everyone understands that the portal is going to open Friday morning at 9 a.m.
Yes.
There's a limited amount of funds. There's going to be high demand. So when you say that you'd be able to take a look at this going back into previous quarters, can you just talk a little bit about, I mean, how is that going to happen? How is someone going to get to have someone take a look at those previous quarters to see what the other data is?
So there's a grant estimator that's in those pictures. So that's really up to the person to look at what they filed in their WR30, and they would have already filed those. So however you filed those, do you have employees that you've claimed? If yes, then that's how you go through your grant estimator. You would pull that number that's on there and then input them, because they're full-time equivalents. So sometimes if you have part-time people in there, you do get a certain percentage to that, but it's based upon hours. But with the loan, there is no requirement for a minimum number of employees. So it's really just, do you have the capacity to repay the loan? That's all it really is.
Okay. So in that case, they really want to be looking at the loan rather than the grant.
Yeah, for seasonal who don't have full-time employees documented throughout the year, I would say the loan is probably going to be the better option for you.
Okay. All right. And so then just to clarify that, you know, because there's a question here, is this grant from the SBA or the NJEDA? This is the NJEDA program.
Yes.
Not the
Yep.
SBA. But to elaborate on that, you can apply for both. Applying for this does not exclude you from applying for an SBA loan or the CARES Act, which can be a grant, correct?
So for EDA terms, it doesn't conflict with us. So we know that if you're pursuing something through SBA, it does not, you know, we're not telling people that because you've pursued something with SBA, you're not allowed to pursue something with EDA. The problem is, I don't know if that would impact someone's SBA application. We're still waiting for clarification on a lot of the CARES Act items, like related to 7A and the PPP program, which is a forgivable loan. So I don't know if you receiving these funds, and I'm sorry, I don't have that answer right now, because every day, like every morning, we get updated information from SBA, and that's not something that's really been addressed yet, if that's going to impact them. But for our standards, no, it doesn't hurt you. But I don't want to speak on behalf of SBA rules.
Okay. Let's see, moving on down the list of questions. If they have several locations in New Jersey, do they make more than one application?
So it's based upon your EIN. So again, if you have multiple EINs, you would be able to put in more than one application. If you have one EIN with multiple locations, then you're potentially looking at not being eligible just because it's only a max of 10 employees. So it's going to depend on how you're registered as a business entity.
Okay. Will you need us to submit our credit score, or is the EDA running the credit check?
We run the credit check.
And let's see, question, will the PPP cares be covered up today? And I think you already talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's still, you know, I shared with you what I had received from SBA as of yesterday. As of today, I didn't really get any valid, you know, any relative like updates. But like I said, every day there's, you know, more information is going to be posted. But those will be administered through SBA lenders. So your bank is going to be your best partner when it comes to the PPP or the 7A loans. That's who you should be really reaching out to at this time.
Okay. And there was a question about getting a copy of today's presentation, and yes, we will be providing that to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, the estimated date that the loan applications will be open, that's Friday morning the portal opens, correct?
No, so that's for the grant. That's the grant application will be Friday 9 a.m. But the loan application won't be till early next week.
Okay.
Probably like Tuesday or Wednesday, I would say, but we don't have a definite date yet. We're still working things out.
Okay.
But again, it
And-
would be posted on the portal. So that's why it's very important to keep paying attention to that.
Okay. Okay. Okay, this says the link proposed, which is the cv.business.nj.gov, is redirecting to the FAQ page. Will this link go directly to the application page by Friday? Or
Yeah.
is the link to the application buried in the FAQ page?
No, it will be live on that portal, where the FAQs are. It will be live right there.
Okay. A follow-up question to the NACE code question that was previously asked. And the question is, we are having difficulty locating the founding documents. We have our EIN, but are unable to locate anything with the NACE code.
Okay.
And they're looking for guidance so they can search and locate the NACE code online.
So
give some
under the
guidance?
grant estimator, that will walk you through your NACE code, like industry specific, what are your services, and it should walk you through those questions so you can be able to identify your NACE code.
Okay. Let's see. We have someone else in the chat room that's provided an online link.
Okay.
And I believe that we can share that. Another question, how will the NJEDA manage the high demand of applications since many will be in the queue on Friday? Is there a priority process?
So your applications are time-stamped, but it's also going to be based upon the back-end approvals that we have to do too. So we have to make sure we're going to be doing batch uploads with Department of Labor, because we're going to verify your WR30 information is accurate. And we're going to verify through, typically there's a tax clearance certificate that you have to provide on all our products, but we're getting that to the point where we're just going to do that clearance. So we have to make sure that somebody wouldn't potentially owe taxes to the state in order to qualify for the grant. If you do have some kind of agreement with taxation that you're paying down on a previous debt, that's fine, but you can't have any outstanding debts to the state in order to qualify for the grant. So we will do all that, but like I said, it's going to take time to process them. We're hoping with making this application completely user-friendly that this should streamline the process.
Okay. The next question, if the owner of the business salary is not on the NJWR 30, their pay cannot be included in the grant application. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What if it is on the tax return?
It's based upon your WR 30. We're not asking for tax returns for the grant application.
Okay.
But that would help you in a loan application. It's not going to help you in the grant application.
Okay. Then the next thing is, if on the WR 30 for fourth quarter, one quarter shows 7 based on the estimator, but no payroll in December, do we use the estimator value? Not sure. I'm not sure maybe they'll retype that in. I think it's abbreviated a little bit. I can't really make all that out. The next question, home remodeler, 2 employees, home office, no commercial space, have projects that will be finished in a month. They are all on second homes and are empty. What do I do with the 2 employees when I'm out of projects? Seems as if I don't qualify on any of these. Appreciate your suggestions.
Yeah, unfortunately, with being a home-based business, you would not be eligible for this grant. You know, unfortunately, I don't have any recommendations as far as your 2 employees, except for, you know, hopefully they can qualify for unemployment at this time, and to help kind of carry you through this process. But I'm sorry. I think also too, with being the home-based business, it's gonna preclude you from any kind of loan product too. So I have to look into the CDFIs to see if they're offering something for home-based businesses. But CDFIs typically don't under the same restrictions because it's hard to verify a steady stream of income. So that's why they typically don't do any kind of loaning to home-based businesses. I don't know if SBA's rules precluded home-based. Like I said, I do know 1099s are eligible, but that's a question I should probably put out to SBA.
Okay. Next question, is the grant program eligibility limited to the industries listed on the slide? Retail, accommodation, arts, and the NAICS codes starting with 44, 45, 71, 72, 811, 812.
At this time, yes.
Okay.
And again, any nonprofit that's a 501c3, C4, and C7 with those specific NAICS codes are eligible. But under our loan program, any nonprofit would be eligible under the loan program. And any business too.
Okay, next question. If you are a seasonal business that is open full-time Memorial Day weekend, should you wait until the application to see if the governor lifts restrictions for the holiday? If it is Memorial Day weekend that we really begin losing money.
Yeah, I think that's really up to the business owner to make that determination. They're going to have to look to see, because I think even if the governor lifts it, we don't know what that is going to look like as business wise. I mean, I would think, and I'm just presuming here, like overall, I think business might be down for that, you know, holiday weekend. I don't know though. I mean, people might be tired of being in the house. I have no idea. I can't predict that. So I think that's really up to the business owner to make that determination, and consider like, hey, okay, if I'm doing half the business that I did last year, am I going to be able to get through the whole summer like I normally do? And if you decide that you need to borrow and at a low interest rate for the loan to help kind of carry those costs until you're up and going, then I think you should maybe pursue the loan. And it doesn't have to be through us. Like I said, there's other entities out there providing those loans, and maybe talk to your bank, who you bank with as well too.
Okay. Okay, this is a follow-up on the estimator. Okay, it says the WR30 for the fourth quarter shows 7 full-time employees. However, no payroll for November, December. Do we use the best value of 7?
I would say yes, but yeah. I mean, if your WR30 is reporting 7 employees, is that what I just heard?
That's what it says.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I would report 7 employees.
Mm-hmm.
But just make sure you're working off your WR30 that you filed.
Okay. And okay, so the next question, for a florist, is a florist considered retail?
I have no idea.
Florist
I mean,
and gift shop?
It would really, yeah, those, I have no idea. I mean, there's thousands of NAICS codes, so it's really whatever those it's the first two numbers determine your industry, right? So I would assume a florist shop is retail. I don't know though, off the top of my head. And I'm not sure if they were forced to close either. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's the last question that we have in the chat. Wait a minute, no, here's another. What is considered revenue for the loan, and in parentheses excluded after the 5 million, total
Yeah.
revenue for gross
so
sales?
when you file your tax returns, you're going to be claiming what your total revenue is for that year. So that's what we're going to usually look. Some people do, you know, auditor prepared financials. So we would utilize those too, but it's going to be the revenue that you collected off that business for the year. And if you haven't filed 2019, you can use your 2018 tax returns.
Okay. Okay. Not seeing any other questions.
Is that
come
related
in.
to the florist? Somebody said they're non-essential. Is that? I'm sorry. I'm not like good with the chats, so that's why it's hard to keep up with that.
Right?
Yes, I think that's the florist telling us that they were forced to close as they were considered non-essential.
Okay. Yeah, so the best recommendation I can give is like really look at what your NAICS code is and work through that estimator to see how you fall into that.
Okay, here's another question.
So yeah, I can see if the grant was available to everyone who was forced to close. So the grant is not going to capture everyone at this time. It's capturing the people with those specific NAICS codes.
Okay. Well, Christina, thank you so much for the presentation today. We will have the slide deck and the recording available. So it will be available to everyone on today's webinar, as well as those who were not able to join us today. We do recommend that if you are applying for the grant or the loan, that you have your documents ready before you sit down to apply for the application. Share that information with your colleagues who are also going to be intending to apply, because this is a very popular program, and you want to make sure that you have everything ready so you do get your applications in as quickly as possible, correct?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
And if you have specific questions and you want to contact, let me know. I can certainly share that information with Christina as well. We'll get those answers to you as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Right? Any other closing remarks or anything?
Not on my behalf. I'm
Okay.
good. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We wish everyone that you will stay well. And I know we all hope to be on the other side of this virus and all of our economic woes as quickly as possible. So stay well, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.